just to give you a little bit of background about Snaptech, we are a full-service digital marketing agency. We help businesses across many different sectors, both in the business-to-business sector, industries, as well as business-to-consumer, and all over the place. We have helped hundreds of companies across North America with their digital marketing efforts over the last 18 years. But enough about Snaptech, I'll get right into this. Today, I'm going to be focusing on helping you understand not so much the tactical things of the things that you have to do to create marketing campaigns, but rather than that, give you a better understanding of where marketing stands at today, where consumer behavior stands today, because by having that better understanding, hopefully that's going to give you a better sense of the type of marketing tactics that you should be doing and executing on, and most important, the marketing strategies. So before I get started, I just want to kind of walk you through a really simple little exercise that I think all of us are familiar with. And I'm going to use North Vancouver right now as an example. A while back I wanted to get a cake for my daughter for her birthday, and I was thinking, well, what kind of cake should I get? So I just did a quick search for ice cream cakes because I know that she loves ice cream. So I just did a quick search on my phone, ice cream cake in North Vancouver. Results came up. Right away, I went to the maps and I saw different locations of where I could actually get some ice cream cakes. And eventually, I came across, Dairy Queen, which I hadn't really thought about, but I mean, I should have because they make the best ice cream cakes. I know. But the reason I give you this example is because all of us, we are so used to now making searches online. We go and search for ice cream, for plumbers, for this, for that. But many of us don't really pay attention to how we're behaving online. We just go and do it because it's just going to it has become second nature to everything that we do. But what just happened here in that example is a typical example of what I call the full funnel marketing, which is, there was an awareness stage, which is where I was thinking, I need to get some ice cream. Where should I get some? And I wasn't thinking, again, Dairy Queen. Then the next step is a consideration. So when I went and actually saw the different options where I could get actually an ice cream cake, that kind of made me think a little bit about the next step, which is where should I be buying my ice cream, which is the last step, which is where I became a lead, or in this case, a purchase for Dairy Queen. And many of us, we know, we're familiar with the full funnel. Everybody talks about the sales funnel and all those things. But many businesses don't quite understand how that applies to marketing and how it's so important to be thinking about the full funnel marketing with every marketing activities that you're doing. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to be talking about 3 different examples. The first one is Nova. They make the sous vide gizmos devices for making cooking food in a pot of water under a constant temperature. Then I'm going to be talking about a plumbing company, Ashton, and I'm going to be talking about Proposify, which is software that we're using at Snaptech. Very distinct businesses, 2 of them in the business to consumer sector, 1 in the business to business. I'm going to be primarily focusing on Nova to kind of just show you the example of this behavior and the funnel that I'm talking about, a little bit about Ashton, and then I'll explain why the challenges with the business-to-business sector and Proposify are facing. So Nova, has anybody ever used the sous vide devices? 2 of them? No? Yeah, do you like them? Love them. Well, a colleague of mine heard about it, and this is actually an example from him. He heard about this device, but he didn't know anything about it other than some people that says, we love them, they're great, and that's it. But the whole concept of submerging your food in water, and it just didn't make any sense. And that's what it looks like, and it's just a matter of putting your food in a bag, sealing it, put it in water, and then you put this device in the pot, and that just keeps a constant temperature so that your food cooks evenly as you're through the cooking process. But I'm not here to sell sous vide. Just wanted to kind of walk you through the different steps and show you a typical journey that somebody would take. In this case, this is a real case scenario from a colleague. to show you the purchase path that it took, quite some time before he actually made a purchase. First thing, it started with that, when we're talking about the funnel, that consideration stage. Sous vide. So just went on Google, see what comes up, and right away we can see that there's ANOVA 1, 2, 3, 4 results over there, and then this one here, which was the most important one, which is what is sous vide. Now, because he didn't really know much about it, he didn't know how this thing worked or anything, he wasn't about to go and buy it just because people say it's great. He needed to learn a little bit about it. So he started to research about that. So he landed on a page, watched the video, explained, and actually was ANOVA that had this video, did a really good explanation of how this works, the benefits of cooking with this appliance. So in that consideration stage, even though he wasn't thinking about ANOVA was already marketing to them, because they knew that there's people at the very top of the funnel that they're not ready to make a purchase, so give them information that is going to help them through the decision process, but obviously utilizing our brand so that we start to nurture those consumers that are in those really early stages. From there, eventually, he went to the website, he saw that there was a couple of different products, he saw the pricing, but just not quite ready to pull the trigger yet, because it still didn't have enough information, and again, it is such a different way of cooking that, for $130, it's a little bit of an expensive investment if you don't like it. So he moved on, didn't buy anything, he just had that information, and of course, we all are all familiar with remarketing. So ANOVA does a great job at doing proper remarketing to anybody that has come to the website that has not taken an action, so this ad started to follow him around. But not only just on different websites, but also through social media. As we all know, social media, everything is all now connected through the back end, if you do proper marketing. So ANOVA has done a really good job at plugging in all these different pieces along the purchase funnel for the consumers. They know the consumers very, very well, and they know what information to give them at every step of the process. So on his social media, he's scrolling, looking at cat pictures and whatever else, he might be looking at. And he comes up with another bit of information from ANOVA. So now he's a little bit more interested, because now ANOVA's been on top of his mind saying, hey, don't forget about me. I know you're not ready, but when you're ready, just think about us. This one in particular was a Facebook campaign that was for lead generation. And all they were asking is just for an email address so that they can keep you updated for recipes and those kind of things. So he just did that. He went in and put in his email address and said, I can always unsubscribe. ANOVA seems to be a reputable company that is not going to be spamming me, so put in his email address and off he goes. And that's it. Continued on Facebook and looking at cat pictures. And here, I just, rather than kind of take you through every single step, I just want to kind of show you the complexity of this journey that he's taken. Started over here with that research, going all the way down to the email address. He was taken to a landing page with information about that, and then eventually continued being exposed to more remarketing, more branding, more advertising about ANOVA until he was ready to make a purchase, add to cart, and actually bought the appliance. And just like both of you, loves it. So as you can see, this is not an easy thing to do. And I'm going to get a little bit more deeper into this example later on to show you the importance of understanding that buyer purchase path. Because without it, if you don't know every single step that your buyers are taking, it's going to be difficult to really develop strategic marketing campaigns that actually work. The next one, the complete opposite of that, and I want to use this as an example because this happens for many businesses. This is Ashton Plumbing. I think many of us that homeowners or we rent a place, I think at some point we'll have experienced some type of a water leak. I know that myself, I had one at home, and I just had one at the office about a month and a half ago. So these kind of things happen. So the first thing that you do, if you don't know who to call, you go to whip up your phone, emergency plumbing, who's going to help me right away? My toilet is plugged, whatever it is. So results come up, you make a phone call, make an appointment. The buyer journey, it's really simple, 2 steps. That's it. So in some cases, you can get away with doing really effective, simple marketing campaigns, like this one, that just have a very short path to conversion. But now I want to talk about Proposify, because most of you are in the business-to-business sector. Now, I'm not going to walk you through all the different steps, because business-to-business is a highly complex industry. And if you can think about the business-to-consumer, another example that I gave you a few minutes ago, how complex that is, you can just imagine on the business-to-business how much more difficult it is. But just to give you a quick background why I like to use Proposify, as a marketing agency, whenever we have a prospective client that is interested in working with us, at some point we need to put a proposal. In the old days, we had to use Word documents and copy-paste and search and replace, and many times we send proposals that have a previous customer's name. Pretty embarrassing, but it happens. It's happened to, I think, many of us. Proposify is a software, and again, I'm not getting commission if you end up buying Proposify, so full disclosure. It's an online tool that has made proposal writing simple. Beautiful software, we've been using it ever since. But the journey for Proposify, why it's different, and the reason that I want to bring this up right now, and I'm going to talk again more a little bit later, is because it's not as clear as it is with somebody like Anova. Anova typically is going to be an end consumer that is going to be looking at a product. You go through all of that, in many cases, in your phone, on your laptop, wherever you are, and you make a purchase. So for Anova, it's fairly easy to connect the dots and be able to figure out, okay, what's working and what isn't. In here, what happens is that this is a much longer buying cycle. Trying to think of adopting a new piece of equipment, a new piece of technology, software, whatever the case may be, is not something that you can execute in 5 minutes, and if you don't like it, you toss it out. When you're doing something like this, you're committing yourself to a big investment, especially in your industry. It's not something you can just return if you don't like it. So there's going to be a very long process. But what happens is there's multiple people that in many cases are involved in this process. Somebody may be exposed to some sort of marketing at a trade show, at a magazine, online, whatever the case may be. They potentially have a conversation with somebody else in their office, talking about what they've seen, why this product or service is going to be good for the company, and then somebody else could be doing the research. Then they exchange ideas, they go back and forth, maybe they view a demo. And now we're talking about multiple touch points, multiple people, so remarketing starts to get a little bit more difficult to track. And in many cases, at the very end, when it comes time to pull in the plug, the person that is actually making a purchase could be somebody completely different than the person that started this. So connecting the dots on a conversion point at the end becomes even more difficult. And I'm not saying this to scare you, to say, hey, it's impossible to do this. All I'm saying is, you have to pay close attention, especially in the business-to-business sector, on how you craft out your marketing strategies. The challenges that we see on business-to-business, it's extremely long paths to purchase. Sometimes it can be 6 months, a year, 2 years, and I think many of you can probably think of some customers that you've had that you initiated a conversation at a trade show 2 years ago, and you finally made a purchase. Now, when I get into some slightly technical things, when it comes to digital marketing, everything is based on cookies, which is little pieces of information that the platforms leave behind so they can track who you are, where you've been, what you're doing, and all of those things. But those little bits of information called cookies, they expire after a certain amount of time. So once they expire, they're gone, and the platforms, when you go back, you have no way to really connect the dots with that. There's numerous, as I mentioned, numerous researchers and stakeholders through their entire process. In some cases, there's some powerless stakeholders, somebody that says, I really need this product, but there's nothing they can do about it, and the decision is up to somebody else. Multiple devices, when you have multiple people, it's going to be different devices across the office, home, mobiles, etc. Definitely alternative email addresses, and a very short window of action, because once they make a decision that I'm going to be buying a product, they're going to be wanting to make the decision very quickly.